EA Sport WRC has been in the hands of those who pre-ordered the game for about a day now. As promised, I present my initial thoughts and findings about the physics and overall driving experience. Bring in the popcorn. Again, a disclaimer. Everything presented in this video are only about how the game feels to me on my hardware. I'm not claiming to know anything about how the game has actually been coded. These are only my personal thoughts and impressions, and it's okay for you to disagree. So here we go. EA Sport WRC seems rather rough around the edges at the moment. I really hope they have enough budget for post-launch bug fixes and improvements, since the great amount of potential is faded by a few issues as it stands today. Like we all know by now, the game has a huge amount of cars and stages, a proper career mode, historic races, etc, etc. So content-wise, it's right there at the top. A personal preference though, all the spoken narrative here and there feels excessive. I get what they're trying to do with it, but it gets old right away. Overall, the menus look and behave a bit like in the WRC 10, though luckily they are much easier to use. For starters, Thrustmaster T300 RS support is not quite there, as some of the basic controller button assignments are a bit off and can't be changed. I must use the circle that is commonly used as the back button to select and confirm, while to go back I have to press R2 on the wheel. These can't be changed by the user for some reason. Then the driving experience. What's absolutely fantastic is that there's a field of view adjustment. It can really be a lifesaver on some systems if you want to maximize the user experience. It definitely helped a lot when trying to feel more in the game on my system. But there are lots of graphics issues and jerking here and there on PlayStation 5. If you want a solid 60 frames per second, you'll need to wait for EA to fix it first. Dirt Rally 2.0 runs much smoother. Then, what I consider to be the main issue at the moment. The input delay or lag on the wheel is pretty bad. It makes it difficult to counter-steer and especially to save a wide slide or a surprise turn. In addition, there's some kind of averaging happening that smooths out sharp turns on the wheel, which is exactly what rally drivers would need to do to get the car going where they want. It also makes the steering feel mushy for small movements near the center, as it makes the delay even longer for small turns on the steering wheel. To me, one of the major points of a steering wheel in racing games is to bypass the slowed down response of a controller. That definitely doesn't happen with EA WRC. The apparent input delay is one of the major obstacles for me on the WRC 10 as well, but luckily EA WRC isn't quite as bad. The way I figured this out was that the game required me to learn to drive on it. It was really difficult at first. When you drive a car in real life, the driving process itself doesn't really require any adaptation. You can drive calmly and briskly right away, because the physics are still the same and you're already familiar with them. If a car game was truly realistic, it wouldn't need much adaptation either, but the EA Sports WRC does, since it appears to behave within its own laws of physics, which in this case seem to be caused by the input delay. The driving physics themselves are a bit difficult to assess due to this delay, but I'll try. In general, it feels kind of as if all relevant elements had been modeled, but the precision or the sum of those elements and the control inputs would vary. This can all be due to the input delay though. Opposite to what I expected based on the early gameplay video clips, I didn't really feel any center pivot point issues, rear wheel steering, or hovercraft behavior. Different cars behave quite differently, which is a good thing, but unfortunately this includes the steering wheel rotation angle as well as the gas pedal response. In some cars a tiny input steers a lot, on some cars it barely steers at all. Some cars do practically nothing for the first half of the gas pedal travel, while some have a somewhat linear response. While this may be realistic, I don't think it adds to the immersion. It's just distracting and bothersome. I was glad to learn that landings from jumps are much more violent than expected based on the early video clips. Oversteering and understeering feel as correct as I can assess them, although correcting fast slides can be impossible due to the input delay. Rear-wheel drive cars are a real pain due to this, since the steering would have to be very precise and fast. Some floatiness on gravel is to be expected, but I can't say if it's perfectly realistic or not. On tarmac I found it very satisfactory to push against the grip limit of the front tires and hear them squeal a bit. It felt real. I did notice that pegging the throttle in the middle of a slide on both dirt and tarmac doesn't change the slide behavior quite as much as I expected. This makes the cars feel underpowered and/or the grip slightly excessive. Other than that, I think the grip levels feel spot on. Overall, trying to see past the input delay issue, other than the mentioned aspects above, I think the game feels as realistic as far as I have the capability to judge. To put it in numbers, if I would rate Dirt Rally 2.0 physics as, for example, 5 out of 10, EA Sport WRC would probably be 9 out of 10, if there weren't the input delay issue, that is. There really is quite a lot what to like. I don't know if the input delay issue is wheel model specific, platform specific, or if it simply exists with all devices. But for me, this drastically limits the hours I'm going to put into the game. One thing is for sure though, I'll be watching for game updates like a hawk and checking the state of the issue as soon as there is one. I won't say whether you should buy the game or not. All I can do is inform you on my findings. Thanks for watching.